All right. Hello, everybody. Been out in the sun working today, but it's good to see everybody here in the Zoom room tonight. And it's good to have everybody on Power Faith Radio. And then we got a couple more people that's kind of hunting. I'll have to help them here just in a minute. But it's good to see everybody tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Terry pretty quick and send these little messages here, Terry. And if you'll pick it up just for a minute, and I can head on over there and do that.
All right. Let's greet everyone here. Of course, Scotty down in the engine room, down there poking some buttons and getting some telecommunications going on down there as well to help people along. Now we have Ronald, Thomas, Bob, and Amy, Amuela. She's got a name there, makes you want to speak in tongues or something. But Miss Amuela and Veronica and Sabra, and Wendell, and tonight looks like we've got Karen from over in Alabama has joined us. Good to see you, Karen.
And Frank. No, that's not her husband's name.
How'd you go and do that? Harold.
Harold. I don't know why I call him Frank all the time. I don't know why I call him Frank all the time. I just got Frank in my mind.
Frankly, I think you're messed up.
Well, frankly, I think you're right. Hello, Karen and Harold.
Hi, Scotty. Harold says hello.
Hello, Frank.
He won't mind me telling you this, but I think the first guy I ever sort of talked to or dated, his name was Frank.
Oh,
maybe you're picking that up in my subconscious.
Oh, you got a little psyche going on there.
All right. You better pick it back up, Terry. I'm going to get in trouble with Harold.
You probably will. All righty. Anyways, greetings, everyone, and welcome to Outreach Noah's class tonight. Oh, and greetings to everyone in Radio Land there on Power Faith Radio. And greetings from all over around the world, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us tonight. Always remember that if you have any questions or anything like that, you can send them over to Scotty. He can get those, especially on the radio. I think there's a chat line on the radio. He gets those. And of course, Ronald, he's watching our YouTube channel. So those in YouTube land, you can feel free to chat there and ask questions, and he'll help get those to us as well. Scotty, you about ready? Are you done poking on buttons? No, he's not done poking on buttons.
I'm done now. I just got through. So,
all righty.
I thought you tell. Let's see. No, you did say about the email, didn't you? Did you give the email?
No, I didn't give the email address. I didn't want to take all your glory.
Oh, listen, you can send an email to outreachnoah@gmail.com, and we will try our best to answer those in the order that they come. Of course, we've not been overburdened with them, but we would like to be overburdened with them. And I just pass them on to Terry. So I started to call Terry Thomas. So, but I
think he's having first name issues tonight.
I've been working out in the sun today. Can you tell it? My hair's melted off my head. So anyway, it's good to see everybody in the Zoom room. So we are going to get started on our Tzedakah time. I was going to tell you something, but I forgot what it was. So, all right. Here we go. Got quiet all of a sudden. I got one more trying to find us.
No, that's not a problem. Go ahead.
Hold on.
No, go ahead. Tonight we're going to continue our discussion from last week on bearing a grudge and revenge, and we'll go through those passages again tonight when we get over there to that, and read a little bit out of the Divine Code about what we've been talking about, and open up some discussion there. And let's see here. If you have the Divine Code, that's going to be page 374. We'll read a little bit off that first couple of chapters here in a little bit.
All right. I am ready now. They was trying to find the YouTube link, so I sent it to them. So, okay, here we go. I would like to thank everybody who helped support in the raising the funds for the Hamishes. We got those in and got those sent out, and we've received some messages from some of the people that had already received them, and they said thank you. Thank you. Tell everybody thank you so much. So we thank everybody who helped us in that endeavor. All right. First of all, we always love to give tzedakah at our tzedakah time for Terry and I's main teacher, Pesach, and his wife, Shira Sherbo, and they live in Tzfat, Israel. And then we're also giving tzedakah tonight for Justin and Caitlin. We don't have their last name. Have you heard any updates on Justin?
I think he's doing okay. Like I said, he's going to be out of work for a long time. My daughter did him and his wife both works with my daughter and their place of work, and those who wasn't here last week. They were on the boat with family out in the lake on a pontoon boat, and some idiot flew by in a speedboat and created a big wave that knocked him overboard, and he got sucked up underneath, and the propeller hit his arm right near him and cut his artery in two there. And he could have bled out really easy, but he was familiar with water situations as being a water guide on one of the whitewater rivers here nearby. And he acted quickly, and his family acted quickly, getting a tourniquet on his arm with a belt, and it probably saved his arm. But my daughter did send me this week. I've got it on my phone, which is in the other room. I'll post it in a Simple Walk Facebook page, but it is a GoFundMe. They're not just asking for a lot of people, just like, crowd them with money, but he's going to be out of work for a real long time and in recovery with this injury, and he's going to be in the hospital for a while as well. So I told him to get me the GoFundMe if they start it, and I'll pass that along for anyone who may want to, drop a little bit toward this family's way. And because him and his wife, like I said, by working with my daughter, they work in the restaurant industry, so it's going to be pretty tight for them.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to keep them on our tzedakah list. Also,
can I add one other thing real quick?
Yes.
That way I won't interrupt later. My eldest daughter called my wife this week. It's nothing of concern as of yet. Those who know my eldest daughter, she's 35, 36 this year. A couple years ago, she changed women doctors, and her new woman doctor was really thorough. Found some knots on her throat, and it turned out that she, at 33 or something like that, had thyroid cancer, and they had to remove half of her thyroid on that. Well, this week they found some more nodules on her other one. Mm-hmm. Right now it's not cancerous, but she messaged or called my wife and said, "Hey, tell Dad to tell his group to just keep me in prayer on this, that it not be cancerous," because they just had their first child, and that's the reason why they couldn't get pregnant, was because she didn't know she had thyroid cancer at 30 something. Her name's Amber, and so she did message and say, please ask Dad and his group to pray for me.
Giving tzedakah for her right now. Okay. Also on our list tonight is William and Tina Lyons, and also Clifford and Harleen Houle. They're on our tzedakah list tonight. Also Nadine Akins. Nadine Akins is on our tzedakah list tonight. And Kathleen Suits. Have you heard any more about Kathleen's eye?
I seen Ronnie today for the first time in a while. They've been on vacation and plus just life things going on. He said that she's doing a whole lot better than they expected because she had those 2 strokes. So she's doing really good. She's had to get some glasses. She still has floaters in her eyes, but she's able to now read without having to be the large print. She's actually been able to come down the size of her print to be able to read. But she said he did say that she was doing pretty good.
Okay, good deal. Also on our tzedakah list tonight is Wendy Shepard, still on our tzedakah list. We're giving tzedakah for Wendy Shepard. Also for Ty Thompson. How's Ty doing, Ronald? Have you heard anything about Ty?
No, I haven't as yet. As I said, I haven't heard from Chrissy, but I'll be trying to contact her today to see how she and Ty are doing.
Yes, she is next on our list. Chrissy Seaton, we're giving tzedakah for her tonight. Also for Warwick Marshall, giving tzedakah for Warwick Marshall. And then while we're talking to you, Ronald, we're giving tzedakah for you. What's your updates going on?
Doing pretty good. Just waiting on a referral to come through from the hospital for a recheck on the other issue, but otherwise, yeah, doing fine, thank you.
Okay, good deal. Let's see. Let me see where I was at here. Also, somebody always sends in $1 for Amuela Asher. Amuela, this is your dollar going into the tzedakah list, and they also send one in for Veronica Port, and also send one in for Thomas Schaus. Also tonight, Evelyn Seal and her brother. I do not have her brother's name at this point, but Evelyn Seal and her brother. And then we're giving great gratitude, Thanksgiving tzedakah for Wendell and Mary Parsons. Wendell, I am not going to say anything about that white stuff that falls in the wintertime, so you won't have to worry about that. Also on our blessed memory list tonight, we have a Ronald Morton, very influential. When he was here on this earth, we talked often, and very knowledgeable. And we're giving blessed memory tzedakah for Ronald Morton. If you would you help us pray tonight? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor, for you are a God who hears prayers and supplications. You are our King. Do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry, are you ready to get started tonight?
I think so.
Okay. I'm going to let you get started, and I've got a couple of things to ask you once you present. It's not going to fit till after you present where you go tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
No problem. Okay, last week we discussed last week I guess it was on revenge and bearing a grudge, and which comes from Leviticus 19 and 18. I want to fall back and go through some passages here. Now, like I taught last week, we get questions about, where the line is between what is for Israel and what is for the nations. And, I explained, for those who wasn't here last week, in Leviticus 19, which we don't really study Leviticus because this is just for the Jewish people. It's Kodashim. It's a book of holiness for them and their priesthood. But there are some principles in there, some moral and ethical issues that we can glean from. But as far as commandments, these are not our commandments. We're not commanded in these areas. Therefore, not all these areas. Some of them I'm going to read from tonight is some of our commandments that predated Israel all the way back down to Adam. But I just wanted to share with you that these are for Israel as commandments, and there's a couple of these that are mentioned that does come from the 7 laws, but the rest of them are basically dealing with moral and ethical character traits that we do need to work on. But if we violate them in any form, we're not violating and sinning, making a sin against the Creator. But I just kind of wanted to go back here because it says, like in 19:1, and Hashem, God the Creator, spoken to Moses, saying, "Speak to the entire assembly of the children of Israel and say unto them," and that's what this is. This is being spoken to them. The audience is, the speaker is God through, speaking to Moses, and the audience is Israel. But it's in verse 11. It says, "You shall not steal," which that's one of our commandments as well. That goes back to Adam. You shall not deny falsely. You shall not lie to one another. You shall not swear falsely by my name, therefore desecrating the name of God. He says, you shall not cheat your fellow. You shall not rob, which that's part of theft, because we have the prohibition of theft, which we'll be getting into here in a couple of weeks. It says, a worker's wage you shall not remain with you overnight until morning, which we have a somewhat of a connection in that with theft, which we'll get to. Maybe not get to exactly this time on theft, but when we do a deep dive into the subject. You shall not curse the deaf. You shall not place a stumbling block before the blind. You shall fear God. You shall not commit a perversion of justice. You shall not favor the poor. You shall not honor the great. With righteousness shall you judge your fellow. You shall not be a gossip monger among your people. You shall not stand aside while your fellow's blood is shed. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall not reprove your brother and do not bear a sin because of him. And you shall not take revenge nor bear a grudge against the members of your people. And all of this leads to the last part of the verse, which we'll get to here in just a few minutes, and something I want to bring out tonight. But all of this is, other than the theft, the theft and the stealing is one of definitely our commandment. As far as a commandment, we're given that as a separate commandment. But the rest of these that we read tonight deals with character. And that's one of the things that's not really talked a lot about, is strengthening our character, working on our character. It's a lifetime thing. It's nothing you can't just open a book and read a book on character traits, which there are plenty of them out there, be it religious and non-religious, however you want to look at it, that are gives good advice on building your character. In Genesis chapter 9, I believe it is, in verse 6, where it opens up, talks about, not 9, 6 verse 9, I had it backwards, where God tells us that Noah says, this is the generations of Noah. He was a righteous man. He was morally pure, and he walked with God. And the thing we learn from that, because Noah is our patriarch, and the sages of Israel teaches us, because it says toledot there is used, where it translates generations. And it's a lot of the Jewish translations will translate that as product. This is the product of Noah, which it can be product as well as the proper translations for toledot. And so the sages teaches us the reason why it starts out like that, because in the next verse, then it says, and he beget his 3 sons. But that's not what it says in the first verse. It says, these are the products. These are the generations of Noah, his righteousness, his morality. And so the sages teaches us that the very first thing a person bears, the first thing that they create in their life is their character. It is their product. The product of their life is their character. And they will build that first. They will develop that first before they actually procreate. And so it's very important for us to work on our character traits. In the Divine Code on page 374, first part of chapter 8, the prohibition of embarrassing another person, evil gossip, and talebearing, which I'm not going to get into those two, which that was mentioned in this list. This is all still underneath the prohibition of murder. We only have but the one prohibition. We do not commit murder. All these other things that fall under that, I love how Rabbi Shulman puts it. These are the definitions. These define what murder is. They're not separate commandments, like some want to think, but they're not. They're definitions that describes the prohibition in its various forms. And Rabbi Weiner, he the writer of the Divine Code, starts here in paragraph 1. He says, just as it is forbidden to harm someone as part of the prohibition against murder, as explained in chapter 6, talking about physical harm, physical injury, it is also forbidden for us to cause another person to suffer through one's speech. This is morally and logically binding. As Hillel, the great Hillel, the sage, said, of the entire Torah, what is hateful for you, do not do to your fellow, your friend. It is forbidden to humiliate and embarrass another person, even if with words, to call a person by the name that is embarrassing to him, or to tell them something that is embarrassing to him. But the main thing we'll fall back on here is this statement here of the entire Torah. Hillel says the entire Torah. This is it. Whatever is hateful to you, do not do to your friend. And I want to bring you an article tonight on that. Scotty, you need to bring anything up to this before I go through this? Okay. Where this comes from Hillel, some of you may not be familiar with the story, so I kind of wanted to bring the story to you so you can have some context, because it is similar to the statement that you shall love your neighbor as yourself, which is a whole lot more involved. And sometime we'll actually may just do a teaching on that, unless Scotty wants to get more deeper in that tonight. I can, but there's more to loving your neighbor as yourself than what we've ever been taught. And so there's more to that. As they say, I think Paul Harvey says, no, he says the rest of the story, but there's more to it. I'm showing my age there, aren't I, Scotty? Yeah. This is an article that is written by, well, I'll be print that off. It doesn't give me the name. Yeah, it's from Aish. It's from Aish.com. Generally puts the author right there at the top. I like to give credit where credit's due, but this does come from Aish.com as the source. The statement is whatever is hateful to you, do not do unto your fellow man. And that's what we're talking about, bearing a grudge, revenge. The Talmud tells us a story, and this is a real story, of a Gentile who came to a great rabbi, Shammai, requesting I love how they put it here, a quickie Mick conversion, a McDonald's conversion. I thought that was funny. Into Torah Judaism, which is the observance of the Torah the way it goes back to Moses. He asked to be taught the entire Torah while standing on one foot. Rabbi Shammai had no patience for the ridiculousness and the disrespectful request, and chased him out of the study hall. Now, Shammai was a rabbi that was known that leaned to the more stricter side of the rules. Undaunted, the fellow then proceeded to visit Shammai's colleague, Hillel. Now, Hillel was more sinner and a little more on the lenient side. And so he approached Hillel with the same request. Hillel instructed him, whatever is hateful and distasteful to you, do not do this to your fellow man. This is the entire Torah, and the rest is commentary. Go and learn. So he was speaking to a person from the nations who was coming to them to learn the Torah. And this guy was like, okay, give me the gist of it. I'm going to stand on one foot. And Hillel did that with this one statement. It says, it seems a little bold of Hillel to claim to summarize the whole entire Torah in one sentence. And even if he could, what is it about this particular principle that defines the Torah. The writer goes on and says it takes a genius to be able to distill something into its simplest and most basic component, as Hillel did. And see, that's the beauty. What we're expected, our share of the Torah that the Jews teach us, as we're told in Zechariah 8:23, we would come to them to learn. Isaiah 2:1, I think it is, says that the nations will flow to Jerusalem to learn the ways of God so they can walk in his paths. The thing about it is because most of our past, those of us that was raised outside the Torah, we were part of the religions of this world that creates a lot of complexity and confusion. And it causes you to develop these traits in yourself. And the great Rabbi Nachman of Breslov is one of the great ones that teaches on serving the Creator in simplicity. There are passages in the Torah and passages from the sages that teaches us, I believe it's even in Proverbs, do not be overly pious. And because it can cause your fellow, you could cause someone else to falter by being too overly strict, too zealous in these issues. And so there is definitely a simplicity, something I'm working on. I jotted some stuff down. I'm going to try to write on that. Scotty, this morning, I spent some time just thinking about stuff, and there's some questions that came to my mind with the discussion you and I had last night with the rabbi. And this article has stirred some things up that are talking about simplicity. It took a genius to distill something as massive and as voluminous as the Torah, such an eternal document, down to its one most basic component. Hillel was instructing this Gentile about the most crucial component that is the basis of all the Torah, all of what, humanity, they call it Judaism, but it's not Judaism, but they observe the Torah. That's what they do, is what they're commanded to do by God. But he was instructing him on the most crucial component of all the Torah. He was pointing out the most essential ingredient before one can even begin understanding the myriad responsibilities and all of the commandments, speaking even to Israel, all of the commandments that they're bound to at Mount Sinai. He was able to distill all that down. All of the Torah depends on the ability to view another person as real as one views your own self. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about bearing a grudge last week, this revenge. When we think about it, would we want someone to bear the grudge that we're having against that person? Would we want that person to have that same grudge? Would we want them to have the same thoughts of revenge of things that they would do to you if they had the opportunity? And so as we get into these character traits and we start thinking about those character traits that affects those around us, the Torah calls us to contemplate on the reality of the next person. Understanding God's word cannot begin without the realization that the person next to me is just as real as I am. That another person traveling through life has the exact same self experiences, love, pain, hurt, joy, ups and downs, and curveballs in life. Everyone experiences these. And we have to recognize that reality, that what we go through in life, the person next to us is doing the exact same thing. We have to come to a point to realize that we are not the center of the universe. So all of Torah's instructions for living rests on the ability to treat someone else as seriously as you would want another one to treat you. To see another as a full human being created in God's image. Just as you know with certainty that is the case about yourself. Once this becomes clear, the rest of the Torah is merely commentary. Details of how to carry this out. When we look at this statement, whatever is hateful for you, do not do to your fellow man. When we begin to grasp that you and the person next to you that may be causing you troubles is created in the image of God, that they bear the image of God within them just as you do. And that the whole Torah revolves around this one statement. And when we learn that, just as Hillel says, the rest of it's commentary, which means that the rest of it is explaining how to do just that. That's what our commandments, of course, we've got the prohibition of idolatry and blasphemy, which we've gone through. And then you got the forbidden relations, prohibition of theft, prohibition of murder, prohibition of ever mean chai, which is eating meat taken from a living animal. That deals with our connection with the creation and more. And then we have the setting up the courts of justice and living and acting justly. Yes, those are prohibitions, and those are the directives for our life. But all these details that describe each of these things and all the details that describes everything for the Jewish people and what they have to do revolves around human reaction. The way we communicate and we react with our Creator and with our fellow man. That's the Torah. And Hillel was able to, have the knowledge in his mind. He knew the Torah and he was able to distill, for them 613 commandments with all of their details down to one phrase. What hurts you? Don't do it to your fellow. If your fellow is holding a grudge against you or is contemplating revenge against you, you don't want that. So why should you do it to them? And so therefore we're encouraged by the sages of Israel and the modern rabbis that Scotty and I did talk to, is that, even though we are not commanded in these areas that they are, they have a command. If they violate these, they sin. We don't. What we do is we destroy society. And our mission on earth is to settle the earth and to create moral and ethical societies that are working together harmoniously, which you can see it's not that way, the way it should be, because the nations, some are a lot, maybe not aware of this. Others, they don't care. They live by greed. They want greed. That's the only thing they want in their life. And what this does, though these aspects of bearing grudges and revenges and gossiping and lying are not sins before God, but they destroy our societies. And when that begins to happen, we see when God gets involved in the flood, in Nineveh, in Sodom and Gomorrah, all three of those was when we as humans weren't getting along with one another. We weren't walking in the path of what is hateful for you, don't do it to your fellow. And when that got to a max level, then the Creator had to step in and do a little bit of spanking on his children before they killed each other. Go ahead, Scotty. This is why this stuff is important for us to learn. It's part of our education. It's part of our learning, and it's a lifelong thing. You won't finish this. This is like you'll be a professional student, like some people are with school. You'll be a professional student all your life, studying all these different aspects and learning to better yourself.
So, Bob, not Bob here, but Bob over here.
Not Bob, but Bob's other
Bob,
other brother,
yeah.
Bob. You know,
Bob's other brother, Bob. So, Bob is kind of just talking about, as he gets older, he now understands the feelings of others by the way he himself has been treated. Well, treated was not the word he used. Misunderstood, and so and it does hurt us. We do hurt, but those things are for our teaching. I used to just. So here's the concept. I thought one day I would wake up and just be the nicest guy. I could just go to bed. I could go to bed and I just wake up in the morning. I'd just be loved by everybody, and everybody would understand me. And no, I know nobody else has ever had those feelings. But then I get up and I eat breakfast and I drink my coffee and I go out into the world and I find that the first thing that I feel now, I didn't used to feel this way. I didn't used to feel this. But the first thing I feel now and see and notice is hurting people that are hurting. And somewhere in my life, and I'm talking about what Bob has put on here on the Power of Faith Radio, somewhere in my life, I have recognized that what I've gone through, not giving everything, some of the things I've gone through, I went through them because I made bad decisions. But I'm talking about the hurts and the challenges and things of that nature. I have found that it has sensitized me to see or feel or come in contact with other people in their position of hurt. Nobody, it hurt does this. It causes you to think I'm all alone in this. When in reality, there's probably other people going through the same thing that you're going through. But we get withdrawed in this, and we've learned how to smile under pain. We've learned how to laugh with somebody say amen or oh me. I don't know which one, but this morning I was standing in line. I visit the same convenience store every morning, and this morning there was a lady in front of me that had a donut and a cup of coffee, and so I jumped up in line, and I have to watch how I say elderly people now because I'm elderly. I gotta watch how I say that now. So I jumped up right where she was at, and I set what I had down there, and I said, I'm going to pay for hers. And I said, you go on, honey. I'm going to pay for yours. And so she just, like, it shocked her. But when I got outside, she was waiting on me. And she said, you know what? I thought nobody knew I existed. And I said, I wish somebody would just let me know that they see me.
Wow.
And then that happened. And so she cried, I cried. I'm a softie. I've gotten soft over the years. But it's little things like that as we become more knowledgeable. Let's see, knowledgeable is not the word. Responsible. There's a lot of people knowledgeable about, we're going to say the 7 laws of Noah. A lot of people are knowledgeable about them, but are they responsible for them? Are they acting in them? Just because we had this saying in church, not just because you carry a Bible under your arm does not make you a preacher no more than you standing in a garage makes you an automobile. So you can read it, you can carry it, but are you functioning in it? Are you presenting it? Does your life show it? Do you have to tell somebody you believe in God, or can they see it in your actions? Where was I going with it? Oh, Bob, thank you over here. Bob's over here. Bob said he's found in his life that when he starts touching other people in their troubles, his troubles does not seem as bad. I'm throwing that in your lap there now, Terry.
But all that reminds me of one of my books that I'm going through very slowly because it's so packed full of just, I'm running out of highlighters because I'm using them. You know me, I like to highlight. But, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory, very, very peaceful man who was the chief rabbi of Britain. And he's got several books out. One on morality that I've got that's really good. Another slow reader, so you can just think about what you're reading. But the one he wrote before that, it's called To Heal a Fractured World, The Ethics of Responsibility. The title just caught me when I saw that. I said, okay, because I know who Rabbi Sachs is. I know his writings. They're beautiful. And when I saw that, because of dealing with what we teach on and Outreach Noah on these universal ethics and morals through the Noahide laws. But that title hit me, To Heal a Fractured World, The Ethics of Responsibility. And that's what you were talking about, taking responsibility.
Yeah. And it affects you. It does make you not tend to see, if I can say it, your own shortcomings. Not just your hurts, not just the things you have hid inside your heart that you're still dealing with, but your own shortcomings. It helps you to connect with things. So, okay, I don't know what else to say there, Terry.
Well, what was the comments you were going to make a while ago before we got started?
Was it something Bob said? I need to go back and find it.
No, it's before we got started tonight.
Oh, okay.
You said you wanted me to go through what a.
Yes, thank you. Let me get back.
See, that's the reason why he's got to be careful with the word elderly. He has that short term.
Exactly. So we got on this subject because we're dealing with the prohibition of murder, and a lot of people feel, and no, this is how, there's a difference between premeditated and accidental. Now, I'm not talking, if you're in war, that's different, but murder. I want to talk about premeditated murder.
All murder is premeditated.
Well, so exactly.
If you think about it, technically.
Yes. But I want to concentrate on the premeditated part.
Okay.
You think about it. You plan it.
Mm-hmm. You're setting up that revenge, maybe.
Setting up that revenge. That's exactly right. That's well chosen words. Thank you, Terry. That's exactly where I was going. When I was younger, and getting back on the elderly part, I don't know who I'm connecting with here, but when I was younger, I'm not going to say revenge was my middle name, but there was times I lost sleep because I thought about how can I get them back. And now that I'm almost elderly,
more mature,
More mature. Thank you again, Terry, for using those well choice words. I have finally gotten myself to a position, and I praise the Creator. I've finally gotten myself to a position. It wasn't me. It was through study, through and I'm going to say something about that here in a minute, Terry, if you remind me, Torah study. That people are going to do things. I like the way Rabbi Shulman put it last night when we was talking. I don't think he'd mind me saying this. Is when people do something to you and you get this anger or thing built up in you, it's really not that person with the problem. I'm the one with the problem, and it's just revealing it not to destroy me, but to help me come to terms with it, and to bridle it, to put it in its proper place. How would you say that, Terry? To control it. So you're not doing premeditated murder in your mind every time you think about these people.
Right.
So and that's not easy.
Premeditated grudge, premeditated revenge, premeditated murder, premeditated, injury and harm, physical and emotional. Anything is premeditated to damage another person's life in some form or matter.
So I wanted to read something, and this was. Have you got your the gates of righteousness? Have you got it open there?
No, but I can't. It's right here. Where you want me to go?
Go to the very beginning. I guess it's chapter 3. That's what it's showing on the 3. Maybe the third. Maybe it's not. It's about 76, somewhere around page 76.
Well, I'm on page 76 here. Prohibition of Murder.
Exactly. Would you read that first definitional point that it's talking about right here? Because
this is where we began. 2 weeks ago now on this was with this very statement, because it's very important. The prohibition of murder. This prohibition teaches the value of human life and the honor that is due every person. What we've been talking about tonight.
Yeah. That's keen. That's a keen thing we need to get inside of us. Keep going with it.
It says this commandment is not limited only to the prohibition of murder. Branches includes not inflicting bodily harm. Remember, it's branches. It's sub parts that helps describe the essence of murder. Its branches includes not inflicting any bodily harm upon another person. Also, the positive perspective, one must endeavor to save and help every person from being harmed to the best of his capability. And I love that, because that's the way God expects us to be. He doesn't expect everyone to be a 100% saint and has the ability, like Moses, to do what he did. He just expects everybody to do the best that they have with what they have to work with. And just like this right here, one must endeavor to save and help another person from being harmed. Just think about that. You helped this lady today recognize that she is not invisible.
Yeah.
That falls within that. The obligation that follows from this is the requirement to give proper charity and help those who are in needy. Those who are needy. The prohibition of spilling blood includes not only causing another person's face to turn. Includes. Let me say it again. The prohibition of spilling blood includes not causing another person's face to turn red. That is not to embarrass or belittle someone. Likewise, evil speech should not be spoken about another person. And that's hard.
Yeah.
How many people you got a coworker that you just you talking to another coworker? We all do that almost every day.
And you know, the bad thing is we get caught up in that.
We do, and it's so easy. It is so easy, and this is the reason why, like, this chapter here is not really, that we're on right now. It's called the contemplation of the 7 laws. It's not actually a study, in-depth study of the 7 laws. It's a contemplation, because we should be contemplating them every day in some format. And most of the time is after you go, John over here, then you think, oh, well, I didn't think about that too well today, did I? I'm generally the after effect, after you do something. I'm like, oh, you fool.
Carol on the radio says, you're meddling now. Go ahead.
Meddling, hey, meddling. We all do it. I catch myself because we have people around us that just, drives us bazonkers.
What is it that draws us into that, though? We don't mean to get started, but we'll fall into a conversation that is going on, and before we know it, we're caught up in it.
I tell you what, I found myself, that I've learned something about myself since I've been studying these. This is really not a good trait, and I really have thought about it. I have, something that needs to be prayed about, but it's kind of a negative trait of studying the commandments. You kind of get to where you kind of expect your fellow to not be an idiot and not be stupid and do things that are wrong. Sometimes I just, I feel like from studying the commandments sometime, as much as I do, I find myself looking and holding people to a higher standard than what they are. And we shouldn't do that, because everyone is on their own walk. Everyone's on their own walk. We're on ours. And sometimes by just constantly meditating on them, it's hard sometimes to not look negatively, not just at the people around you, but the world in general. When you start learning, okay, this is the way of life. This is the way God wants humanity. Wait a minute. Where's humanity at? They're not.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Oh, don't turn on the news. You'll definitely have a heart attack, But I find myself because technically our commandments are logically known, theft and murder and things like this is actually logically known among human beings, to know that there's something inside of you knows that these things are wrong. And sometimes you want to I'll see a coworker at work doing something that is definitely like a theft issue. And I'm like, no better than that, and then you want to go.
So
that's something else to work on. As you learn to walk in God's paths, we've got to even understand that there is a humanity out there where the majority of them is not paying attention to what God wants them to do. And for some reason, there are those on the planet that become drawn to God in some format. They want to walk in His will. And so when we look around the rest of the world and it's outdoing its craziness, it can kind of get your mind to thinking of certain things that we got to start working on, understanding the world is the way it is. The world is God's, and He's dealing with it the way He wants to deal with it. We've got to learn to deal with us the way He wants us to deal with us. And that is learn to, whatever's hateful to you, don't do it to even if they are doing things that, you don't care for. We've got to learn to not do to them what we don't want done to us.
Yeah.
And this is all part of it.
Yeah. Joanna, she reminds me that we're all in a group together here, said that this is one of the hardest things to overcome. And then she says, as an elderly, and she put that in all caps. I don't know what
she was listening to you.
She's listening to me, a person that is one of the things that I struggle with mostly. And it sneaks up on you. and we're in that. And so
And you'll be down a few steps down that stairway before you recognize what you've done.
I fall down it, Terry. I think I'm stepping good, and I fall down it and bounce as I go down. But it is a struggle. And the thing that worries me now that I've gotten older, I tend to try to bite my lip. Huh?
Since you've gotten elderly?
Since I've gotten elderly, I tend to try to bite my lip. I try to bite my lip because I'm wondering what people think about me that see me talking about this. My employer one time, this is 20 years ago, there was somebody at the house we went to worship in, and they was just carrying on, and we was at lunch, and somebody started talking about him. Well, before I knew it, I was right in the middle of the conversation. I appreciate what he did. He didn't scold me in front of everybody. He waited till we were leaving, and he walked over to me and he says, that didn't, you might have, what you've been saying might have been true, but it didn't look good on you. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
one of the hardest things
I've got, the Chafetz Chaim, who is a great rabbi who's known about, he's the rabbi of speech. And one of his, this is one of the most well-known books where it's got the gatherings of his teachings on speech, which is the Chafetz Chaim lesson a day. And this whole book is the concepts and the laws of proper speech arranged for daily study. And it's one of those things I probably need to get into, but it's one of those things you go, oh, do you willingly lay over and say, spank me? Do you go, oh, I need to get beat up today? Because sometimes studying this stuff can be hard, because it's like looking in the mirror and you begin seeing the things about yourself that you really like. Do I really want to take that kind of look today? But it's good. It's just good stuff. And speech is just an area that we talk a little bit about it. And this is one of the things that, I've said, and analyzed the world around me sometimes. And over the last couple of weeks, I've had some different changes at work and things, and they're pulling me to do some multiple areas to kind of be a floater in one area and another over here and stuff that they need. And so I'm around more of my fellow employees through the day now than just, 2 or 3 that was every day for a long time. And then now I'm around more. And I listen. And one of my coworkers, a great man, he's at that retirement age, and he's a Baptist pastor here in my area, and we talk sometimes. And I'll bring up things because some things at work that I've shared with him. I said, this is theft that's going on, and it doesn't seem like theft because it just deals with numbers. And as I've talked with some that are like in that direction, and I was there at one time in my life as well, years ago. And I come just to recognize we weren't trained. I've been thinking about it a lot here lately. The passage, train up a child and he should go. But in my life experience, which I know is not in everybody else's, but I'd have to say that I grew up in a God-believing home. Wasn't really religious, but it's a God-believing home. But I really wasn't trained like what we've learned from the Jewish people. They start, when a child is, young age, they've been learning Hebrew. They actually start studying Torah at like 3 years old. The boys do. And we weren't trained. Okay, we know don't steal. You've been raised, don't steal. But it wasn't until I got into this, studying the Hebrew scriptures, and it really picked up around 2010 when I really started getting more deep into it. I had to come to recognize, and now recognize from me, though a lot of people know that they shouldn't steal, but how many has actually studied that the subject of theft? What is it? The details. And so, see, this is taking our learning into a different level. We're beginning to train ourselves in ways that I know I wasn't raised that way, and especially in an educational emphasis type home. But then even when I look at the ministers around me that I know, and I'll bring subjects up, and they'll have nice statements, nice phrases that waxes well, makes a good sermon. But then the question is in me, but have you really studied this subject in depth other than to create, a beautiful sermon to get some amens from? Are you teaching the people to open their books and let's talk about what we've been talking about, murder, and it's led us into character traits and on, look, we're talking about grudges and revenge has taken us over 2 weeks. And I have to say, I never got any of that kind of training in my past religious life. It was just it was religious fluff in a way that makes you feel good, but nothing that really would impact and change your life and think about that next person in an in-depth manner. And so, I don't know, it's just something I've been recognizing a lot, that we just in the Western world on a general basis wasn't trained to really study and learn how to walk. We've been taught how to believe, but not how to walk.
Yeah.
And I've come to recognize that over the last probably month or so, as I've just been looking and meditating and thinking about myself. Is just, I was always taught what to believe, but not how to walk and live. Believe this and believe that, and you're going to be okay, no matter how you acted. As long as your belief was correct. And the more I get into these studies, the more I recognize that belief is just a stepping stone. But when you start getting into learning to walk, and that's what it says there in Isaiah. It says that the nations are going to come to the mountain of God. What? To learn his ways and to walk in his paths. Has nothing to do. We're going to come to Jerusalem and we're going to believe on God. No, we're going there. The nations are going to go there to learn the way so that you can walk. What did Noah's righteousness and Noah's morality caused him to walk with God? Doesn't say nothing about believing in God. And I feel like that's been an area in a lot of our Western lives that we have missed out on, in that we weren't trained the way of God so that we can walk in it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm just rambling.
No, that's good. Hey, I'm going to put you on speaker view, and I want you to talk a little more and show that book again.
Which one?
On the last, on Chaim.
On
Hefetzheim. Let me put you on speaker view, and then you can talk so it'll take over the screen.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me see here. In the introduction, it says, the power we wield when we speak is far beyond what we can perceive. It says, imagine going to an automatic teller machine at your local bank and inserting a plastic ATM card and making a simple transaction, to be only told upon exiting that you had actually just transferred $17 billion from the treasury of one country to that of another and left a devastating bankruptcy in its wake. We think we're only exchanging a few words when in fact we're moving worlds. That's part of the introduction. Understand now, this is written, if you do decide to get this is written to the Jewish people from, and it's the teachings of the Chafetz Chaim, one of the sages of Israel. There's a lot of Jewish terminologies in here. If you decide to get it, feel free to message Scotty and we can help you out with the understanding of the words, the Jewish words that are used in everyday life for them. But this is called Chafetz Chaim, a lesson a day, the concepts and the laws of proper speech arranged in daily study. Oh, you got that, Scotty? Everybody see that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Terry.
Okay.
Had it on speaker view there so they could see it. So,
but yeah, it's a very powerful book. I've got, matter of fact, another one of a book that's written on his is called Truth. Lessons in Truth. Now that one's powerful because it deals with the subjects of deceit and lying. It's a very, very powerful one as well. It's just a smaller book, but the Chafetz Chaim was really good in teaching on speech.
Yeah, there's a couple places they can purchase that, Terry. Is that?
Yeah, you should be able to get this. This is actually published by, this particular book is from Art Scroll, which means it should be available on Amazon.
Okay.
And Art Scroll is one of the largest Jewish publications for the English-speaking Jews. The quality of their books are really, really good. If you own a Chumash, an Art Scroll Chumash, you'll notice the quality in the material.
Yeah. All right, Terry.
Anything else, Scotty?
No, I think that's got us pretty well covered for tonight. So I think it was a great discussion. A lot of people on the radio said thank you so much. This is a great subject for all to hearken to. So it is one to contemplate. It is one to think about it. Maybe now that we have, sometimes we think of this, but once you initiate this conversation into your brain, it's as Barney Fife would say, it's like being inoculated. It's inoculated. Yeah. So
I know that.
Every time it comes up in your brain, you'll think about it before you say something. My grandmother used to say, those people, every time they open up their mouth, stupid comes out. But she said, I'm not talking about myself. So that's so anyway. All right. I ain't gonna say no more on that, Terry. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Are you gonna leave it right there?
I'm gonna leave it right there.
Take some time this week to set in, like we talked about the other night. I think it was Veronica brought up on Hip Vidadut, means, prayer and solitude. Take some time to have some moments of solitude and maybe think about some of the stuff that we've covered over the last couple of weeks. Take a look at Leviticus 19:18, and don't look at the word shall there, because it's not our commandment for us, but look at it. One of the writers from Chabad, who I really like, a lot of their writers, he said the you shall not bear a grudge or revenge against your neighbor was setting up the next passage of the you shall love your neighbor as yourself. It was setting that up. It led into that. All of those passages that I read tonight from the first part of the chapter through was setting up to that statement on all of that. All of that was things you're not supposed to be doing. For Israel, they're commanded not to do to their fellow man. For us, these are things that are like more obligations that we are to obligate ourselves in morality and the ethics toward our fellow man.
Yeah.
And so maybe take some time just to think about, those things. All
right, Terry, are we ready to come to a close?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
If you're done.
We're yeah, Ronald.
May I give that update on Chrissy to the?
Yes. I actually meant to come to you. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you. Go ahead. Yes.
Chrissy saw the cardiologist on Monday, and she has a heart murmur, which means a faulty valve. She sees the cardiologist again on the 1st of July to discuss appropriate interventions. She's at home on restricted activity. She's quite physically tired most days, and she would like me to put forward to thank all those prayers coming from you guys.
Yeah. We're going to continue to, and I'm going to ask everybody as you go through your week, and you see a charity box someplace, put some charity in there, and think about Chrissy Seaton as you do it, and do it as if you are doing it in proxy for her, so that she will gain the merit for that. So, all right, thank you, Ronald. Thank you so much. Everybody, we thank you so much for coming and participating tonight. We thank you, those that were listening by Power Faith Radio and still listening through Power Faith Radio. We thank you so much, and for coming this way. Come back if everything goes good. Come back next Wednesday night, and we'll be right back here. And we thank everybody who's joined us here in the Zoom room, and everybody who has watched on YouTube and has contacted us through Messenger. And we thank you so much. We appreciate all your comments, all your questions. You can send your questions and comments to outreachnoah@gmail.com, and we will try to order those or go through those as they come in. Of course, this class is sponsored by Outreach Noah. You can find us mainly on Outreach Noah. Just go to YouTube channel, Outreach Noah. Subscribe to that channel. Hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And go find our Facebook page, A Simple Walk. And there you can join that, and you'll get the links of how to come into the classes, and Terry posts the classes there afterwards. And if I can make one other plug, Veronica, and have you got a book handy? And mine's in the living room in there, I think.
If not, I've got one.
If you'll put one up, there you unmuted. Veronica, are you in a place where you can? Veronica is the author, and she's still on her book tour. That's what I call it. And everybody's showing the book.
I do not have the book with me. It's in the car.
Okay. Well, here. Look at everybody's showing the book.
Popping up.
So a great book.
It always surprises me when people just show the book.
So I'm proud of you, Veronica.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
If you want to understand the basic knowledge, information, and things of being a Noahide, I'm just going to put it like that.
Just simply.
Yeah. You can get this and go through it. It will answer a lot of your questions. And so I think, thank you, Veronica. That took some time, effort, and understanding to put that down in writing.
Actually, it took bravery.
Okay. All right. And I know you've been working on a second book. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. That
one's going to be that one's definitely being harder. It's harder to write. So yeah.
But I think it's really going to be effective because you've mentioned the title a couple of times. A lot of times titles of book change as you go through it, but you've mentioned what it was going to be about, and I think I can't wait. So as soon as that goes up, my name's in on one of the first copies that come out. So, all right, everybody. Again, we thank you for coming this way, and we can't wait to see you next week. If all goes well, we will see you